Please rise and start. You pledge your allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. At least the rain will freshen us up a little, right? We'll get what we're going. All right. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our guest speaker. If you want to come up here. I got the call last night to come over, so I'm not really prepared to speak, but I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Vito Bruno. I was born in Brooklyn, out in Bensonhurst, what we believed was the last dirt road left in Brooklyn, but it was actually the first paved road that was never maintained. But we always go as the last dirt road in Brooklyn. I went to public school. Went to Brooklyn Technical High School where I studied architecture. Phenomenal school. Then I went on to Pratt Institute and studied architecture there. And testament to how great Brooklyn Tech was, the kid that I was sitting next to in Brooklyn Tech, Mr. Fallick's class, he went to Cooper Union. I went to Pratt Institute. And Marcel Breuer, which was like one of the top firms, architectural firms at the time, they go and they hire from the top schools. So I got picked to work at the most prestigious architectural firm at the time, and I show up the very first day, and who's sitting next to me? The same kid from high school. So those specialized high schools and education is so important to the future of the kids over here. So, you know, right now we have a little issue in the school systems which we're going to address. I know a bunch of school teachers, and they say we have lots and lots of issues in here. The second language learners are taken away from our kids. The schools are overcrowded. So, although the borough president doesn't have the rights to do anything with it, we could certainly bring up the issues about overcrowding, how the classrooms are structured, the different levels of learning in each classroom, and the second language learners and the English language learners are actually hurting. In terms of Brooklyn, you know, when we were growing up, there was a neighborhood where you go out, everybody knew you. Now with all this development, we're losing our neighborhoods, but we're also losing the main businesses here. So my vision is for the next 4 years, if I get be lucky to get elected, we need to do development properly. We need to put affordable housing where it's desperately needed. We'll be looking at sites with developers along the waterfront, 2nd Avenue. The Industry City is phenomenal development over there. Great place for housing because you have transportation right there. We're exploring building over the train lines where, you know, like this whole 62nd Street corridor. There's other tracks that are running all through Brooklyn that could be reopened up for commuter trains. So we're looking at a lot of things. We're looking at private partnerships to do instead of using public funding. These are the important things that we're looking at right now to help Brooklyn. Rain's holding up, thank God for us. What else can we talk about today? We know we have the standard problems. The drug problem is tremendous out here. We've been in contact with the #1 drug rehab in the country because prevention is more important than the curing at this point. So if we get to the point prior to these people getting addicted, we'll have a hands up on the situation. The homeless situation is a whole tremendously bad problem out, especially out in Bay Ridge now. We have tremendous homeless issue out there. Housing the homeless by warehousing them is not going to work. We need to figure out a very simple solution that we're not spending $600 a night for hotel rooms for families to go. And these children that are in these warehouses, they're not getting proper education, so they're not going to have the shot that I had to do something, you know. So let me go back to my little history. So we started with my architectural history, but I also have another history to go back. When I was a kid, I was working in a nightclub, and they did a movie called Saturday Night Fever. And we're actually going to be auctioning off the dance floor. We're bringing out for our first fundraiser June 22nd this week. Hope some of you could show up there. And it brought me into the entertainment business. I was the focal point of the world. You know, disco craze broke out of that venue. Then we started operating and owning nightclubs. We started making records. We started managing talent. We had 40 #1 records in Billboard. We made a few movies. And we operated some of the biggest nightclubs and concerts. So my background is architecture, which is land use, coming up with out-of-the-box thinking and ideas for the Borough of Brooklyn. And the other part of the Borough President job is promotion and marketing. Great ideas, coming up with great programs for the people, and how to make Brooklyn a better place, more livable, safer, better quality of life. So when you're a promoter and you have the architecture background, it's kind of what the job is. I think I'm the most qualified person to do this job. You know, Marty Markowitz, you know, I think was one of the greatest borough presidents we've ever had. He was everywhere. He developed the entertainment business, brought the film industry in, brought the free concerts, which they built the whole stadium, but we lost the free concerts. We need to bring the free concerts back again. He was a borough president for all people, not just some people, which our current borough president is. So I'd love to sit and chat with you all. If you want to speak to me afterwards, if you have any questions, I'd gladly sit with you all. Yes?
How do you feel about legalization of marijuana for recreational use? Forget medical, okay, that's already a done deal. I'm talking about recreational. What's your position?
I really don't have a position on you know,
Didn't you just say drugs were a problem?
drugs, yeah, it's the opioid addiction is a problem. Me and my campaign manager had this discussion about coming up with out-of-the-box ways to battle that. Heroin is opioids are the gateway to heroin. Marijuana, for recreational use in New York City, probably not.
Well, 15 and 16-year-olds will be addicted. That's well-known. Harvard medical says that. The problem is when you legalize it, it makes the youngsters feel like, oh, and even their parents. So this is the problem where the addiction is very strong in the teenage brain, because when you snip it in, it goes right to the brain.
Right, it develops brain development at an early age, prior to
quit
22
smoking
years old.
cigarettes.
We understand, but you know, people can't get a drink until they're 21. Maybe we should let them drink because they could get drugs delivered to their house in 15 minutes right now, which is a problem. If we maybe, you know, this is not my position, I'm just saying, thinking out of the box. If people take a drink and they're 16 years old, they get a ticket, they get a summons, they get a lot of trouble. But
well, they don't if they're smoking dope, do they?
yeah, right. Smoking dope it's a problem. It's absolutely an issue.
But this has to be really discussed because the teenage brain, and same with alcohol. You know, we're not saying that either one are good for a teenager. They have to understand that they're.
The marijuana is more of a gateway drug, as we've been told from children in school.
Can I have a question?
Yes, sir.
As an architect, how do you feel about using cargo containers in Brooklyn to set up permanent homes for homeless?
I've seen there's a few companies out there that they convert cargo containers into retail spaces, into food kiosks. I don't know architecturally if it'll work because of the temperature and the heat and the insulated. It it might be more costly to turn a container into a home and less safe.
And whose neighborhood? What neighborhood's going to want them in their, want your containers at the end of their block? Or would you like some containers full of homeless people on your block? But it's going to go on somebody's block.
I don't think it's financially smart to do that.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What is the status of your campaign? Are you being primaried?
No primary. I've been endorsed by the Republican Party. We have our first fundraiser for this week. So we're out getting signatures right now, and we need to get 100 people to contribute. We have a great team. Miss Clorinda, who's phenomenal, our campaign manager. We have Don McLeod, who's doing all the digital marketing. He developed that department for their channel, which is now iHeartRadio. Building a nice team of people with tremendous experience.
Why don't you tell us a little about your fundraiser? Where is it?
The fundraiser is 22nd this week. It's at Encore in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. We're breaking out the original dance floor from Saturday Night Fever. It's going to be more of a fun, sort of an event. I don't know if you saw on TV and on the newspapers that the dance floor is actually going to be auctioned off on the 26th. The profiles in history. So I know we've been featured on BBC. I think Inside Edition is coming down to do it. Reuters is coming down to do it. I've done interviews for several news and TV and radio, national and international outlets over the last week, so over that. If we get that kind of attention for a borough president race, I'd be really happy.
I have a second question.
Yes, sir.
As an entrepreneur and business person, I am always promoting the idea of small business, and I feel that in order to give small business a chance, you need to start locally. How do you feel about setting up a program where instead of getting contracts from a business that's 100 miles away, we first look for a business within our area?
Oh, it's like Trump says, America first, we should do Brooklyn first. Brooklyn first. As we're doing the campaign, we have to print things. I can get the posters printed out in Indiana at much cheaper rate, but we're getting them printed in Brooklyn. Every shirts in Brooklyn, every single piece. We're making sure a Brooklyn company is manufacturing and creating it. Yes, sir.
Hi, Victor. I am Walter Yee. I'm the chairman of the Brooklyn Libertarian Party.
Hey, nice to meet you, sir.
Okay. We have our own candidate for Brooklyn borough president, Ken Kessel. You've probably heard of him. He's appeared on TV a couple of times. He's about as tall as that Comey guy, 6'9" or something like that. Anyway, you and he.
More honest than him.
You and he got your work cut out. You got that Adams guy to beat. I mean.
Yes.
Okay.
We know there's 1.1 million Democrats in this town, and it's basically a one-party town. It's your city council and the mayor,
The Politburo, that's
and
what I
the
call
borough
it.
president. We really need everybody here to get out there, get their neighbors to vote, and do the conversion. Get other people. I took this.
The question I want to ask you, though, is, with all due respect, though, you mentioned affordable housing. Okay, when I hear that, I ask them, do you guys go to PC Richards and ask the employee, I want an affordable flat screen TV, I want an affordable refrigerator? Affordable means whatever you want to pay for. It's cheap usually. The market will provide. Okay. Now with housing, when you have the shortage of housing because there's not enough supply. The city has all these barriers to stop
There's a lot of
building,
vacant
awful
buildings.
lot.
Right.
And then the only kind of housing that's possible is these so-called luxury housing because they're able to jump the barriers to get money and all of that. Even then, the city will require them to set aside so-called affordable housing. Now, the question to you is, how would you promote not affordable housing, but just more supply? Get people to build. Long Island City, you ever go to the number 7 train? A whole lot of housing being built there. I don't know what's going on over there.
Right.
But
a lot of that is
you
zoning.
need more housing. How would you promote it? I mean, not just affordable housing, but just supply.
That's definitely a zoning issue of where, you know, how high you can build, your floor area ratios.
Repeal those.
Excuse me?
Repeal those codes, you know.
Well, yeah, yes. In certain areas, yes, sir. Nobody, like if I go to Glenn, hey Glenn, this house is going to be 10 stories high next year.
No, I don't want it.
He doesn't want it. So it's a very delicate balance of where you can put these houses, where you can change your zoning, and from learning city planning, transportation dictates housing and affordability and pricing of housing. If you follow the train line from number 7, you know, into Brooklyn, first stop, very, very expensive. The next stop, less expensive. And as you go further away, I guess that, you know, Bay Ridge is still fairly decently affordable, but we're an hour and change from the center of the city. You know, so we discussed. You know, Long Island Railroad cuts through Atlantic Avenue all the way down into Brooklyn. At that end of Brooklyn, East New York, there are dozens and dozens of vacant lots, dilapidated buildings. There's actually a housing project at Atkins Avenue, I think it was, that's falling apart. You can take those areas, create a train stop on the Long Island Railroad, all of a sudden now you have accessibility, quick accessibility to the center of the city, which is where everybody needs to go. So if you could get the train stop, that whole area will develop. And you just, when you do your zoning, you zone it with affordable housing in mind.
One other
I have
thing.
a follow-up question.
Alton,
I want to follow up actually on what you're saying. I don't know that much about what the position of Brooklyn Borough President would be, but correct me maybe if I'm wrong. I know the job of the last few Brooklyn Borough Presidents is more of a promotion, yes, to promote Brooklyn
Marty was a great
and to be the
cheerleader.
rah-rah guy or woman for the borough. And in my opinion, I believe that if you're looking for the pricing of housing and for regulation, things like that, that falls more onto the gubernatorial candidates or the incumbent, as well as someone who's mayor, the executive
Yes,
of New York City.
that's correct. Well, we could present ideas.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
Like you say, Chinatown is the conversion issue over in Chinatown, where I take a house like this, and now you have 65 people living in it, which crowds the schools, parking, sewage. But
This has been going on since the 1990s. I mean,
Right,
if anybody
right,
had,
but you've
if
got a
anybody had
solution.
even a small amount of money to
Okay.
develop, to invest in areas of Dumbo and Williamsburg back in the 80s or 90s, you'd have quite a bit more money today.
And
I mean, it's a great investment.
You know, myself personally, I just followed the train line out, and I bought a couple of houses in off the 59th Street train line. I knew it was going to blow up, but I just didn't know when. You know.
Yes.
So we know exactly where to go. You know, express train to 95th Street in Brooklyn, express train out to East
By
New
the way,
York.
where is it affordable in Bay Ridge? I'm curious.
Compared to Park Slope or Brooklyn Heights, the whole place.
I have a rental now paying $1,700.
That's
so,
great.
You know, which is compared to.
I guess that ain't bad compared to certain other
You
neighborhoods.
go to Williamsburg now, my apartment would be,
Yes.
you know, $3,500, double.
It's what the market dictates, though.
Huh? It's not the market, it's the market, it's the transportation.
And by the way, the answer to some of the questions, if I might add, is you have a lot of international money as well as money from out of the area that's come in, and there are vacant apartments which people park their money in here and use that as an investment, whether it be by Columbus Circle. I know that's some of the most expensive real estate in New York City, as well as even the outer boroughs. So very, very wealthy people and institutions park money here, and you'll walk around, you'll see very expensive units that aren't even being occupied. You know, $5–10 million plus units, there aren't, as well as commercial real estate. I know a little bit about real estate.
Yeah.
So it's
Chinese are putting they want to get their money
Yeah, it's
out
the
of
Chinese,
China.
but it is
They don't care if it's empty. They just want to get their capital out of China.
Correct. That's one
So
of the
they're
places.
one of the main places. They're like $1 trillion
So,
has come in.
But what we're asking for is to say government should come in and say, oh well, let's regulate. Well, we already have like rent control regulations in New York City for a very, very long time. One of the last places in the country.
Yes, sir.
At the Museum of the City of New York and 96th Street and 5th Avenue, there's this wonderful